Hey all, Pete here with video number, I'm not sure. I think it might be 8. I'm out in my backyard today, and I thought I'd do a video on trap prep. It's a subject that is in all the forums. There are a lot of YouTube videos about it. My videos are meant to explain how I do things and why I do them the way I do. But I think it can be one of those things that you really overthink, just like a lot of trapping. and you know, my model is just keep things simple, keep things basic. Before I do that, I have to say a couple things. One is I got this really cool coffee mug that my wife is in the kitchen. I can see her in the kitchen window shaking her head. It says, "I love beaver." My brother-in-law got it for me down in Utah. Apparently it's a name of a town or something in Utah, so I don't know where her mind is, but that's where it's from. I also got on this really cool hat, Soldier Mountain, I always say it wrong, Soldier Mountain Arms. And these guys are awesome. They're Idaho local. They make custom rifles. They have a website you could check out. They have a Facebook page. And I hate to go on record saying this, but I really don't need any more guns. But I will say there is one more gun that I want, and it is a custom-made 300 Winchester mag. And one of these days when I win the lottery, I'm gonna have Rob over at Soldier Mountain Arms build me a custom 300 Win mag. These guys are amazing, man. Their equipment, the grouping, the precision of it. They're long range shooters is what their kind of claim to fame is, but they're hunters, and they hunt all over Idaho. They've been down with their equipment in Africa. So big shout out to Soldier Mountain Arms. Rob is a great guy. His wife's a little sketchy, I gotta say. You know, I don't know if I trust her. I'm just kidding. His wife is my boss, actually, at work. So, but good folks. Check them out if you want to get some custom firearms made. All right, so prap trap. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a timeline of prap trap. Okay, starting with a new trap. And then we're going to follow one road, and then at one point we're going to diverge, and you can go one way or the other way depending on what you're going to be using the trap for. Okay, so I could have done a video where I just talk about this without the products, but when I watch videos where people just talk without showing me stuff, like I don't remember very well. I think I need, see, I was in the Marine Corps. I need pictures, right? Don't read it to me. Show me pictures, you know, so I can draw it myself in crayon, right? That's the joke. Flavored crayon in case I eat them. Anyway, I like pictures so I can see the products. So when I go to the store or when I'm on the website, I can actually see it too. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what it looks like, or that's what it looks like. All right, so you get some traps. Let's say you buy new traps. When I buy new traps, okay, when I buy new traps, all I do is clean them up and use them the first year. And so by cleaning them up, I mean get the factory grease off of them. That's all I do. Okay, now I might make some adjustments on a pan or something if I need to, but as far as preparation, I just clean the grease off and I set them and use them for a year so that they get a coat of rust on them from use, get some wear on them. It's called seasoning the metal, kind of, right? There are a lot of ways you can get that grease off. There have been times I've gotten traps in the mail and had to run out and set them that day and didn't have time to do much, so I literally took an old towel and just rubbed the grease off of them and then went and set them, all right? But that's obviously not the ideal way to get all the grease off, but I've done that. The way I normally get the grease off is I go down. I rarely ever shop at Walmart because I do not like to support big box stores. I support mom and pop stores. But Walmart seems to be the only place in Twin Falls that I can find this stuff, unfortunately. And so what I'll do is I'll go down to Walmart and I'll buy a gallon of this super clean, and I'll get one of my plastic totes. I'll dump half that jug in there, throw all the traps in there, fill the rest up with water. I let it soak overnight. Grease is gone. This is a great degreaser. This is an amazing degreaser. I've even actually washed coon pelts in it a few times to degrease them. It does a really good job. Almost too good. If you leave it in there too long, it can cause some problems. But then I go set them. Done. Okay. When I pulled those same new traps at the end of the year, I bring them home and I pressure wash them. Okay. And I leave them hang for a little while until I'm ready to do prap trep. And I usually do prap trep around this time of year, May or June. Usually June. But since we're all on the zombie apocalypse quarantine cootie lockdown, I'm doing it a little earlier this year because I'm just kind of bored. So I pressure wash them and hang them up outside, or pressure wash them and throw them back in totes till I'm ready to do some prep for the following year or for the upcoming season. When I'm ready to do that, I take them out and I pressure wash them again and I hang them up. Okay? So we're still talking about new traps that have never been treated. Okay? By now they've got a layer of rust on them, right? A decent layer of rust, so that paint's going to stick to them better. If it's okay, so I'm sorry, I almost went down the road too soon. So paint's ready to stick to them. I use 1 quart of Rust-Oleum flat black and 1 quart of Rust-Oleum rusty metal primer. I dump both of those into a 5-gallon bucket. And then I dump a bunch of acetone in there. This is acetone. And I dump enough acetone in there to get that mixture really thin. Okay? It doesn't take the whole, but I'll probably dump over half of this, if not more, in there the first time. And then I'll add to it as I dip traps, because it'll evaporate. I want it to be a thin mixture. I don't want a thick coat of paint on there. Then I dip all my traps in that. All my new traps in that. And I let them hang outside for at least a month. And sometimes more. So like I'll be dipping this weekend probably, and they'll hang till July. So they'll hang about 2 months outside. Then, if they're water traps, they go into a tote and I set them. I don't do anything other than paint my water traps. I don't wax my water traps. I don't dye my water traps. I just paint them with this stuff, and that's all. And then in a few years, when if they need another coat, I just dip them. I don't clean them up or anything. I just dip them again. I use a really thin coat. Okay, I'm not putting a real thick coat of paint on there. It's thin. And so, I don't really have to do much cleanup on them if I want to dip them again. I can also spot spray them. So I'll get some of the Rust-Oleum different colors of the camouflage colors, and if I get a trap that's a little chipped up or something, I might just spray some green or tan or whatever, and you get camouflage looking traps. They blend in really well in the creek. This combination creates a dark chocolate color, and it's really cool looking. But if they're water traps, usually with water traps, I don't even hang them after I paint them. I hang them long enough to dry, and then they just go in the totes. It doesn't matter if they have a smell. It doesn't matter in the water. All right, if they're canines, okay, so for my coyotes and my fox traps, after they've hung for 5 to 8 weeks, and the smell is off of them, and they've been outside in my backyard hanging, sprinklers are hitting them every day, they're just sitting out in the weather. Then what I use is I like to use Full Metal Jacket. I love this stuff. Some people hate it, some people love it. I don't know, man. I like it. And some people tell me all it is floor wax. Okay, fine. Then I'm using floor wax. It doesn't matter. The reason I like this is because I live in town. So let me explain that. I don't like to live in town. I want to live outside of town. My wife likes to live in town. So we compromised and we live in town. And if you're married, you know what I'm talking about. So we live in town. So I don't have, like a big 55-gallon barrel to boil stuff in and to melt wax in. And, my neighbors already think I'm crazy because I'm pulling into the driveway all the time and unloading dead animals and out in the garage skinning things at all hours of the night. And so I like things that I can do in my backyard without, much of a problem. And so that's why I don't wax traps, and that's why I don't dye them. I don't boil them. You know, this is easy. Doesn't require me to heat anything up. Full metal jacket's easy. Thing with full metal jacket, if this is the first time I'm dipping a trap in full metal jacket, then I like to dip it 3 or 4 times. So I dip it, let it dry, dip it, let it dry, dip it, let it dry. So I do it on a warm day. They dry fast. And this stuff for me has worked really well. It creates this like really hard coating on your traps and protects them. Why do I paint and full metal jacket? Because in my canine sets, I use calcium chloride as an antifreeze. And it is very corrosive. Okay, if you just put an untreated trap in there, you can get away with it for 1 season, but I wouldn't do it season after season. So I use calcium chloride. So I like to treat my traps with paint and some kind of a wax, and I use the full metal jacket. Then after I full metal jacket them, I leave them hang for about a month. And then I put them in totes with sagebrush and dirt from the desert. And they stay in those totes, and they soak up any smell they're going to soak up is going to be natural. Even though this claims to seal smell out, I'm not convinced. But, you know, when I take those out and smell those traps, they smell like sagebrush and dirt. And they go in the ground. Okay? At the end of the year, at the end of the season, I take all my traps home. So now these are treated traps now that have been used for a year. I pressure wash my water traps, and if any of them need to be touched up with some spray paint, I'll spray paint and touch them up, and they just go in the bins. Okay? My canine traps, I pressure wash them really good, and either hang them up or throw them in the bins till I'm ready to do trap prep. At which time I take them out, I spray them again, I pressure wash them really good, and then I'll soak them overnight for 1 night max in this. I don't want to start ripping the paint off of them. This gets any excess full metal jacket off of them, you know, and then I'll hang them up for a while, and when the smell from this stuff is gone, I go ahead and full metal jacket them again, leave them hang for a month, and they go back in the totes. And that's the process I repeat right there. I don't like waxing traps. Waxing traps is a pain in my ass. Okay? And I would never wax water traps. You just don't, you know, paint keeps them healthy. Sometimes I have to get wax off of traps that I buy. So a lot of times when I buy used traps, the dealer has waxed them. The person I'm buying them from has waxed them, which is fine. I just use them for a couple seasons usually. One waxing will usually last me a couple seasons. And when I'm ready to clean them up, what I do is I get my big totes, I have these big totes, throw the traps in there, and I fill those totes about 2/3 full of white distilled vinegar, which is like $1.99 a bottle at Winco. And then I fill the rest up with water, and I let them sit in there for a week or 2. And every night after the second day, you'll go out and skim off the top. The stuff, the wax and everything starts coming up to the top, and it's rusty and black and looks gross. And I just skim it off every night. It won't come up till about the 2nd or 3rd night. You won't start seeing that. You'll see them bubbling in there, but that's just the acid in the vinegar eating away at stuff. But starting on about the 3rd night, you'll start getting a crust on top. Just use a strainer, strain it off, you know, and just do that every night for a week or 2. Doesn't matter. It's not going to hurt them to stay in there. And then take them out, pressure wash them. They should be good. If there's still waxy patches and stuff on them, throw them back in. You know, throw them back in with some fresh vinegar, and then eventually they come out. They're down to the steel. Okay, and so once they're down to the steel, then I hang them up for a week. Let them rust up. They rust up pretty quick after you soak them like that. Let them rust up, and then paint. Then after a couple months, full metal jacket, and they're into the rotation of the traps that I prepare every year. So real easy stuff, you know, real easy stuff, easy way to go. Again, water traps, they only get painted. No full metal jacket, no wax, none of that. And why paint instead of dye? Because when I've dyed traps, they still rust. And when I paint them, they don't. So I've tried all different kinds of dye and they rust, so I don't dye them. I use paint. You can get this a lot of different places. I don't know if Rocky Mountain Fur and Fireworks carries Full Metal Jacket, but I encourage you to check there first because they're local. They're here in Idaho. If not, any of the trap suppliers carry Full Metal Jacket. It's about 25 bucks a gallon. You can get this stuff at your local hardware store, and if anybody can find this somewhere in southern Idaho other than Walmart, let me know where it is, because that's where I'll go to buy it. That's all I got for you today. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, God is great, guns are good, and freedom is precious. And I will see you next time.